We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanoff. If you've listened to the radio station, and I know you have, you know I don't like to be like everyone else. I like things that are new or different than anything you've heard. So when today's guest contacted me, I knew I had to talk to him about what he does. So without further ado, we are talking to an international recording artist and the head of A&R Dance, Contemporary Compilations, and Soundtracks Department at the MG Universal Music Group. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show Ernest Kohl. Ernest, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a great intro.
No problem.
Thank you.
Well, I start off every interview the same way. I want to know who Ernest is in 30 seconds. Give us your 30-second bio.
Okay. I am an international recording artist, writer, arranger, producer, director, composer, lyricist, choreographer, model. I shouldn't be umming so much. A number. I wear a lot of hats. I do A&R. Whatever it takes, I do.
Okay. Well, that was exactly 33 seconds. So I will cut out some of the so then it'll be tight. 30 seconds at that point.
Okay.
No, I won't.
No, one thing I was taught really very, very young.
Yeah.
Don't like and you know.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, oh, great.
I know, you get so conscious of it, but you realize, oh, I'm doing it. Now I have to stop doing it, but I can't stop doing it. It's that vicious circle.
Right, it is. And a lot of times, just we say just is so you'll get a description, and you want that validation that the other person is understanding what you're saying. And it's just like, uh-oh, I liked again.
I know. So, before we get into everything that you do, and you do lots of great stuff, I want to know a little bit about you, and we'll take it back to the beginning. Were you always into musical theater and theater itself, or was that something you discovered a little bit later?
That is really where I started, and I'm very, very thankful for that. I think I started really young. My first show, I auditioned at age 6, and I auditioned in January, and I went into the show in February because we had like a 3-week rehearsal period or 2.5-week rehearsal period. And I played young Jerome in South Pacific, and which was wonderful because that was a very big musical. And it also taught me to begin with the classics, because you can't get more classic than Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No.
And that is just a wonderful show. And it was a great beginning because I got to work with 2 really great people, which were Jane Powell and Howard Keel.
Yeah.
And they really had magic together on stage. And one thing I can say about Jane, she was incredibly wonderful to the children, us children. There were 4 of us, and we kind of switched off on and off. And she would teach us. She almost was like a Maria to us in Sound of Music. She's very, 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 very kind. I can't say enough good about the 2 of them, but they had a certain chemistry that you just knew they had it. And I think it even showed in their movies, like 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. It was just magic. And I remember being very, very, very young, standing in the wings where I wasn't even needed, and just loving it, just watching it and knowing that this is what I wanted to do with my life. And from there, I just kept going. From that, I thought I was going to be cast into King and I, but they didn't think I was old enough to play the Prince.
Okay.
And they didn't think I was correct for Louis. So I was really disappointed about that. But they owned it, Annie Get Your Gun.
Okay.
So I got cast as a role even younger than Jerome, and I got cast as little Jake, which was great. So there was another classic musical. And then from that, I got cast in Camelot, and I played the page in Act 1 and Tom of Warwick in Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, what was after that? Oh, Kiss Me Kate. And I was getting a little bit taller then, so that is when I was getting a little more singing roles, and I got the part where it was package from Miss Lois Lane. I don't know if you know the part in the score, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then from that, what was the next show? Carnival, which very few people know Carnival, which I'm really surprised at, but it's a really lovely show.
The Bob Merrill one?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Nobody seems to do that show. First, they do every other musical, but they don't do Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very unique show, and it's a very heartwarming show. And I just enjoyed it a lot. And from there, I really started to do a lot.
Wait. You started to really do a lot?
Yeah, because I was still a really little kid. But then I started into my early, 10, 11, 12, 13. I started doing I did Josephine Mason Technicolor Dreamcoat. I did Jesus Christ Superstar. I did Godspell. I did Fiddler on the Roof. Fiddler was a little bit earlier because it was still one of the songs. Carousel. Let's see, Fiddler, Carousel, Superstar, Godspell. Oh, okay. Then I had a really big thing. Oh, okay. I'm forgetting a whole bunch of musicals. So sorry. Bye Bye Birdie, Music Man, How to Succeed in Business,
and
The Ritz.
And this was all before you were 20?
This was all before I was 20. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so
that's quite the resume.
Seesaw, Music Man again, second time doing Music Man. Robert Bridegroom, Shenandoah. Then when I was 16, that's when everything started to change. I got cast in a musical, and I was very fortunate to be asked to be part of the writing party, and it literally changed my life in one night.
Wow.
The musical opened off Broadway. It was named Avant-Garde, and it instantly was an overnight sensation. And within 2 months, it was moved uptown to Broadway and got rave reviews. We thought we were running forever, and then the equity strike hit.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't tell you how that broke my heart, because we couldn't stay open because it was just way too expensive. They couldn't afford the new equity rulings. And it was kind of a thing because the musicians had struck, or whatever the word correctly is, 2 years previously. And they kind of had to match the musicians to the actors, because it was kind of like, well, if the musicians are getting this much, the actors should get this much, which is kind of correct. And we couldn't cross picket lines. And it was like it broke my heart.
Yeah.
And 4 shows closed that season, and we were one of them.
Wow.
And but it did change my life. One of the producers and the publicist, who turned out to be a manager of Stephanie Mills, Lolita Holloway, Grace Jones, First Choice, Double Exposure, did Jennifer Holliday's public relations, decided that I was going to be a recording star, and got me a recording contract with Bobby Orlando.
So,
And well, at first it was with Jim Burgess. And Jim Burgess did do a mix on Avant-Garde, the cast recording. And right then during that period, he fell ill and he was unable to continue. And so they then got Bobby Orlando, or Bobby O, as he's more well known, to produce my album. And Bobby had me demo over 45 to 50 songs. And Bobby was very weird the way he liked to do things. He was in complete control, never listened to the artist, didn't care what the artist image or had input to, which was very difficult for me, at least. And he never allowed you to hear the full song. He would just make you sing lines. So you would do a line, okay, move on. Did we get it correct? Okay, move on to the next line. So you kind of really didn't know what you were singing. You did sort of know the choruses if they were hangover lines. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
She knows what you're looking for. She knows what to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so that all had to sing in one thing. But then we would go on to the next section. And then what happened was, I was out one night after the Avant-Garde performance, and we all went up the street to Studio 54 because we were at the F Sharp Theater on 51st and Broadway, which is no longer in existence, one of the great theaters that was torn down, unfortunately. And we went up to Studio 54, which was just 3 blocks up, and we were always allowed in the back door. Even though I was only 16, I was getting into clubs and discos. And Steve Rebell was always letting theater people in because he loved Broadway people. And as well as young boys. But he was always a gentleman to me, sort of. And we would just be walked in the door, and we never had to approach the crowd in the front. And it was just like magical. And we were out on the dance floor, many members of the Avant-Garde company, just having a great time after the show.
Yeah.
And a song came on, and I'm listening to the song, and I'm going, wow, this sounds really familiar. And I'm listening more, and I'm going, this really sounds familiar. And then all of a sudden, the vocal comes in, and it was me. And I went, nobody told me that this was released, and I hadn't even heard the full version. I knew it was my vocal. My phrasing's very identifiable. I guess that's what you would call it. Especially after I did Rocky Horror Show, I had to really work to lose my phrasing after I did Rocky Horror Show, because you fall into doing certain things with your phrasing once after you do that show. That I think if you listen to Come Alive at Night, my song, that song, you can hear a little bit of the Rocky Horror in that. But so anyways, I was on the dance floor, and I'm like screaming, this is me, this is me, this is me singing. And everybody's like, Ernest, are you okay? And I'm like, no, guys, come on. And so studio was totally packed. And I don't know if you remember Studio 54, but to get to the DJ booth, if you were on the main dance floor, you had to go up the one stairway onto the mezzanine, crossed all the way across the mezzanine, go down the other stairway, and the DJ booth was where the box would be on, okay, so if it's stage, it would be stage left if I was looking out at the audience. No, stage right, excuse me. If I was looking out at the audience, it would be stage right, the lower box. That's where the DJ booth was.
Yeah.
So it took us a good period of time to get through that crowd, even though we were like running.
Yeah.
And it was very lucky that the one producer, Jeffrey L. Robbins, who was also one of my managers, and my attorney at the time was with me, and John Carmen, who was my publicist and also one of my managers, was there, because he also was doing publicity for Studio. And the DJ had just mixed out of the record, and we were like screaming, please, can we see this record? And I'll never forget this in my life. He comes over, with a pink and blue label vinyl record. This is back in the days of real 12-inch vinyl.
Yeah.
And on it, it said She Has a Way was the name of the song. And the artist's name on it was not my name, but was Bobby O.
Oh, what?
And I have to say my heart dropped like onto the floor. I mean, you would need a steel crane to have picked it up. And immediately, with like in 1 second, John Carmen said to, I guess it was one of his assistants, David Granoff, was right next to him, said, David, go get the paparazzi Polaroid, because there were no cell phones back then. And we need to get a picture of this. And he grabbed Jeffrey really quickly, and they just sort of said, Ernest, shut up. And which I kind of was offended by, but they were, blah, 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 blah. And they went, okay, this is what's going to happen. We need a picture of the record. We've got a lawsuit here. We know how to handle this. And I was like, okay. What had transpired that I didn't even realize was Bobby had signed me into a 7-year contract, or he could have kept doing this to me for 7 years. But the worst part about this contract is it had a 7-year renewal on his side. We didn't have to approve it. He just had to say, okay, I want to continue it. So he could have controlled my career for 14 years and just keep putting out records without my name on it. Now, I'd already done like 45 to 50 records, and he put them out under numerous other artist names. One was named Eric, one was named a group called 123. And it's really interesting because these records became classics and are still played today. And people now are recognizing that it is my voice and that it is me. And they're really advocating on social media, and they're doing major things about it. It's like, but the whole thing was, I could never perform the records. This is what we settled in the lawsuit. We won the lawsuit. We just wanted out of the contract because we had 4 major hits at the time. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted out of the contract, and all I had to agree to was I would never record the songs, and I would never perform them. I didn't want to record his works.
Yeah.
I wanted to start recording my own works. And I had no intention of performing his works and making him money. And so this was like, yay. Well, what happened is Jeffrey and John used those to shop major record deals. They ended up getting me 4 major record deals, all of which I ended up on 3 of the labels. Only one of them had gone bankrupt, but in the course of history, I ended up on every single one of those labels.
Wow. You lived a lifetime in 17 years. Like, that's insane.
Before even my first really big radio hit even really came out, which started around 1985. And then there was something even funnier with that happened. Wow. One of my very first records was a cover of I Think I Love You, which actually it's in the musical Maurice, because they're using it's a jukebox musical, and there's songs from a lot of different artists within a musical. Mm-hmm. And an amusement park chain called Action Park decided to use my record as the theme.
Wow.
And not tell us. Again, we won a lawsuit, which ended up paying for our big next recording sessions, because what we wanted to do was own the masters ourselves. Mm-hmm. This is what, and I started working very, very young with the great Steve Skinner, which I'm sure you're familiar with from his work with Jonathan Larson on Rent. Mm. He was the musical arranger and director on Rent, the original, and he also worked on the movie. and on Tick Tick Boom, and whatever the science fiction musical that Jonathan did. I can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember offhand.
But, so anyways, I started working with Steve very, very young, and we wanted to own our masters.
Mm-hmm.
And so this gave us free reign to start recording in major recordings, 24-track recording studios, and we were working out of Unique Sound. We would be in Studio A, and Diana Ross would be in Studio B, or Bruce Springsteen would be in A, and we would be in B. And it was just like at the very same time, and or Hall & Oates would be there, and it was just like, and at the same time, it was just a very cool time in history. And I was so young, and I was so lucky to have learned my craft this way and to be around these people. And I didn't even realize that some of my friends at the time were becoming very famous, like Irene Cara. And it was just like, oh, wow. Yeah, it was just really a very cool thing because it just happened naturally.
Yeah.
And it was authentic. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to plot this to happen. And it just did happen.
Wow.
And with perseverance and hard work, it did pay off. And where it really started to pay off, not that the first 4 records were very, very successful, but they were more club-oriented hits.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I recorded Sooner or Later, Love Is Gonna Get You, which is also in Maurice, that it broke pop all over the globe. And it hit so quickly that that spun my head around. Because within like a course of 2 weeks, I was being flown all over the world. I was on television. I was on radio interviews. It was like, wow. And it was great. And I'm very thankful for it. But I was young enough and not old enough.
Yeah.
So I got in young enough that I'm not an old fogey. I'm still one of the younger artists that have grown up in this industry.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to put it any other way. I started on vinyl, went to CD, and now I'm on digital download. So I've kind of gone through the spectrum.
Nice. Well, I'd love to talk more about the songs that you approached me with. You contacted me, I don't know, 5 months ago or 4 months ago. I don't even remember anymore. With the songs Being Alive from Company and This Is the Moment from Jekyll and Hyde. And I'd love to learn more about how you took these musical theater songs, these classic songs, and turned them into these dance hits.
I had been wanting to do both of those for Being Alive for a very, 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 very long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Being Alive had been one of my early audition songs. And it always got me jobs. And sometimes when you have a song that will always get you a job, you hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, okay. And I'm not for like a contemporary musical, but more for when they ask you for a solid Broadway song. But nobody heard it. Nobody. I mean, they were like, even Steve was saying, he said at one point, okay, good luck finding somebody to do that with you. And I was like, okay, I will. But I have to say this, it was something I believed I was going to do, but it took me a very, very, very long period to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to skip ahead, and I'm going to come back to it. I had been introduced in a very weird way to Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
I was at doing a Pride event on the docks down in New York City, where you're like in front of like 10,000 people or more, and you perform on the docks.
Mm-hmm.
And then after your performance, right after you're done, the fireworks start, and the DJ plays music that goes along with the fireworks show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a culmination song. It was This Is the Moment, but it was off the concept album that was done by Colin, I forget what his last name is, and Linda Eder. Are you familiar with the original concept album?
I think I play that version. I think I play a couple of versions, but I think I do play that one.
It's brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, it's the gentleman who originally was in Les Mis, Colin, whatever his name is, and I apologize for forgetting his name. He's so brilliant. And he has a magnificent instrument. But from the moment I heard that song, I got chills.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the arrangement in my head. And I went to Steve and I said, we have to do this. And I don't know if it was my enthusiasm, but he said, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then we got Tom Moulton, the great Tom Moulton, to come in and do the work with us on it. And from day one, that record, everybody loved. And the only hard part I ever had with that record was where to put it in the show.
Yeah.
And either you close the show with it or you do an encore with it.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of people said, open the show with it. And every time we opened the show with it, anything afterwards was kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, unless you were just going on and singing the one song by itself, like on a just sometimes you have to do a concert where you just do one song.
Yeah.
So every time, I had done it to coincide with the original Broadway opening with Robert Cuccicelli. There I go saying his name wrong. I know I'm going to get a Facebook message on this one.
It's okay. I couldn't say it either.
Say his name for me because I'm going to say, which he and Linda were in the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming up the pike, there was the revival with Deborah Cox and the gentleman who had won on American Idol
Mm-hmm.
in the revival. And I do have to say that our remix of it, the Momentum remix, blew up even bigger than the first time.
Wow.
And went to number one again and stayed at number one for like 13 weeks. And it was like, whoa, this was just like amazing. And then that gave me the confidence that I had to do Being Alive. And originally, my concept was to do Being Alive as a 3-piece suite with This Is the Moment and another song in there that I had written.
Mm-hmm.
But then she was like saying, no, and da-da-da-da. So we decided not to do it that way. But what happened was the concert version with the New York Philharmonic that was being filmed as a movie happened, and we were contacted, and they thought that I would be correct to do it, to bring it to a pop dance arrangement, and I had already been waiting for this chance to happen. So I leaped at the chance. And that's when I was like, we did it, and it just blew up. Everybody loved it.
Nice.
And the one thing that did give me, a dear friend of mine at the time said, if you do this, this is going to be career suicide. And any time that this friend of mine has said something, don't do this, and I do it, it turns out to be a huge hit. So I always listen to him to tell me not to do it, and I know I haven't yet. But one person I did listen to on doing it was the great Lance Horn, who is one of the authors of The Cosmopolitan and was the musical director and conductor of Little Woman, and it's just done so much musical theater. And as Alan Cummings, musical director, and has worked on many, many things with me, like Acacia and just lots and lots of musical productions. And he came into the studio when we were laying the tracks, and I just started singing it against, just the instrumental track. And he went, whoa, yes, that really works. And I was like, thank you, God, I just got my blessing. And you sometimes need that kind of validation from somebody who's so serious musical theater to give you that oomph, to give you that courage to go through. Not that I would not have done it, but that gave me the confidence, I think that's the correct word, to continue on. And then when we remixed it, this is a very funny story. We were contacted by the revival production when it was still in England. And they said, we're going to be bringing it to America. We were contacted by the Schubert organization. We're going to be bringing it to America. Would you consider redoing it and remixing it? We said, oh, yeah, definitely. Because that was something I said, I would like to revisit that.
Yeah. That
was something I would like to do. Okay. But we had to keep quiet about it from 218 all the way to 220.
Holy man.
And we had a full schedule. And I mean, the whole team. And there was only so many people we could tell, because it's kind of like this thing. You tell one person, they're going to tell one person. And that one person is going to tell another person. So we had to be very careful on who was being told. We had all this whole schedule, but we were all so excited about being alive. And every single project we were working on, we was like, in our side notes, we were talking about being alive, and I had to keep saying to everyone, okay, let's stay focused. We're working on I Love It's Here to Stay right now. Let's not talk about it being alive, It was like, okay. Then we were so prepared for being alive, and we were ready for it to happen. And I remember being invited down and being at the theater, and everything was great. It was the top of March, and everything was going. It was wonderful. I mean, the show needed some tightening, I will be honest. Mm-hmm. But we were pretty much ready to open, and it was like March 12th hit.
Yep.
And Broadway was shut down. Now, I had heard the night before something was going to happen, because they never tell you, remove all your personal items out of the dressing room. Mm-hmm. And I was getting people, DMing me saying, I was just told to remove everything out of my dressing room. And I thought my dressing room was going to be like my second apartment for the next year. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not good news. And I don't think anybody even expected coronavirus or COVID-19 ever to ever happen at the way that it did. And I don't think anybody ever saw Broadway ever shutting down. Unless it would be like for one night for like a snowstorm or something like that, or a power outage. Or I think the worst other case scenario I ever heard was there was a water main break in a theater and they had to close down for one evening.
Yeah,
but that was it. But what happened was, is everything started to be cut off really, really quickly. Our launch date was the 20th, which was the last business day before the show was opening on the 22nd, which is Mr. Sondheim's birthday, 90th birthday, and the whole thing was to be a big 90th birthday party for Steve Sondheim.
Yeah.
And, well, we all know what happened. But we did not know if the record was even going to come out the night before. So in the leading hours going up to midnight, because a record launches at midnight, Greenland time, I couldn't reach people because they weren't in the offices. They hadn't gotten all the remote things going yet. The last call that I had gotten was, we think it's going through. If you see it go through on iTunes, you know you're a go, but be prepared to go. And no matter what, do everything as you normally would, but you have to handle it on your own, Ernest.
Wow.
And I was like, holy moly, this is a real hard one. I couldn't reach my video director in the UK. Thank God the first thing, this is what's a very weird juxtaposition. Going to the theater my first night, I remember having trouble getting through the crowds in Times Square. It was so many people. And it reminded me of the song in the show, Another 100 People Getting Off of the Train. It was really exactly like that, coming up out of the subway. And going from 42nd Street to 45th Street took me almost like 15 minutes, just getting through it. And I kept thinking, if I have to go through this every night, I'm really going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
And I went, oh my God. Then next, there was nobody on the streets. It was a ghost town.
Yeah.
So it went from packed to zero. Everybody fled. Everybody was afraid that you get near a person, you're going to get COVID-19 and die, which a lot of cases did happen.
Yeah.
And it's still continuing to happen. But at midnight on the night of the 19th, the record came out. It was received amazingly, but we had never thought that just the title would be what the world was living for right at this moment in history. Mm-hmm. Everybody was trying to be alive or stay alive with this horrible pandemic virus going on. So we could never have planned a record to come out and hit and become the anthem, and it's still on charts, and people are still playing, like you, thank you, and God bless you for playing in it. And they love it. And it's become like the anthem of the year.
Wow. It's incredible just how things line up, and it is.
And we're told the show is going to be opening as scheduled in 2021, and we are talking about doing more remixes.
Wow.
And we're just crossing our fingers, crossing our eyes, crossing our legs.
Yep.
And praying very hard that everybody's well and this pandemic passes, Broadway reopens, and the show opens, and everything goes as planned. But there's no definite. I did read an article last evening by Dr. Fauci saying things look like they're going to happen sooner than later. So that is a good thing because of the new vaccinations, and now, that will hopefully change the course of things.
Yeah.
But they really have to be very careful with things because they would hate to reopen everything, infect a lot more people, and a lot more people lose their lives.
Yeah, it's a difficult, weird time right now, and we're all chomping at the bit to get back into it, to get back into the audience on the stage. But we also realize, I'd rather wait a little bit and make sure we're all okay. And I
exactly only because you can't replace a life.
Nope.
And life is so precious,
and
this is just unheard of. And this virus is mutating. There is a new strain that is coming, in from the UK. I don't know if they have confirmed cases here, but they have confirmed cases in other countries.
We've had a couple here.
And
yep.
Oh, it has been in Canada already?
Yeah, a couple of them, they said, at least from what I read. So.
Oh, no. Oh, that's so bad.
It's how are you going to stop something that, a disease, right? It's one person. It just takes one, right? So.
It only takes one. And what our governor said, and he's a really great governor. I do have to thank Governor Cuomo 100 times. If I ever meet the man, I will just, if I can, shake his hand, but if not, I will kowtow to him.
Yes.
I thank him for all of his hard, diligent work and all of the wonderful things he's tried to do and help us, as well as our mayor, Mr. de Blasio. But our Governor Cuomo said he thinks it's here only because New York City is the epicenter of the world of travel, and everybody comes here.
Yeah.
And before we even knew it was happening, there were flights coming from the UK.
Yep, I know.
And it only takes one person, and they're not sure what the actual things are of the strain yet, and they're not sure if any vaccination is going to be able to cure it, because they don't know how it's mutated yet. They haven't had time to study it.
Yeah.
So they are putting severe travel restrictions on where you do have to get tested. I think it's twice before you get on the plane to come here now.
Yeah.
From the United Kingdom, and it's slowly going from all countries.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the day when the borders are open again, because I'm looking forward to coming down to New York and checking out company and just being part of that vibe again. I was down there last October.
Yeah. I gotta say the show is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's very different than the original. It's very unique.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
It's very much a good time. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
For sure.
But if you want to have a really good time, and I don't think a lot of people would say that about a Sondheim show. Oh, it's a good time. You know?
Yeah.
You don't say that about Sweeney Todd. Oh, it's a good time. Let's go watch people get their throats slit. Let's go watch somebody being thrown in an oven. Yeah, it's a great story, great score, but it's not a good time.
Yeah. Well, I am definitely looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to hearing more songs from you, because you have been graciously provided us with a number of dance songs of musicals for the radio station for our Saturday night party mixes.
That is one thing our label is developing right now.
That's great.
And I think if anything good, not that anything good of COVID-19 happened, though, it did give people time to listen.
Yes.
And we had to come up with new ways of marketing. Now, we had been discussing this for a very long period of time, but this opened the door for me with the label to go in and really talk to them and say, I think I have an angle here.
Yeah.
And they were really finally open to it. And from the last meetings I've had this week, I have been given the green light on the goes to develop more, which is fantastic. Yes, they want me to continue promoting the things that are currently on the charts and have recently been released, which I have to promote, which are for musicals, so it's not hard for me.
Yeah.
Like All I Know, which is for Murray.
Yes.
Which is, again, a wonderful show. Very bittersweet and a little bit sad in a lot of ways, but at many moments it's just a wonderful, brilliant show, as it is based on the book. I don't know if you read the book, or the Merchant Ivory movie. And it has a lot of great contemporary pop songs in it, pop dance songs within the score that are all weaved in, and they totally work. And I think that the younger generation loves this because they can associate with the musical, but the songs become a part of the story.
Yeah.
When they stop speaking, they start singing. But I also love the fact that I've been given a green light, especially on a show that's very dear to me, is the show like Asia. And we're really going to work very hard on that. I'm very excited about that one.
Well, I look forward to hearing
It's one wild show, I'll tell you that. Because just when you think one thing's going to happen, the next thing happens. It goes another direction. So you're always kind of going, oh my God. Oh my God. And I love shows that keep you, interested.
Yes.
Not just sort of like, kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I want a show that's going to, engage me and surprise me. That's the key word. I want to be surprised.
Occasion's definitely going to do that.
Nice.
Several of our musicals do that. Importance of Being does it, but Importance of Being is a little bit more intense
Mm-hmm.
and gets a little bit more serious at moments. Not that Morris doesn't get serious, and not that Acacia does not get serious.
Yeah.
Acacia, I can't give it away, because if I start talking about it, I'm going to give something away. And I've got to be very, it's kind of like Penn and Teller here. You don't want to give away the trick or
Yes.
any.
Yeah.
And no, it's not like the Magic Show, which is, believe it or not, one of my favorite musicals, because I saw it as a very young child
Mm-hmm.
and just like loved it.
Oh, well, then you'll just have to have another reason to come back on and tell us. Once you are able to talk, then you can tell us more about it. So that gives you another.
Well, I think it's one of those shows you have to go see,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't tell the endings of certain shows, because it'll kind of like burst the bubble.
Yeah.
Does that make?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Don't want to ruin the ending.
But you can tell something.
Yeah, of course.
I can tell you one thing. The songs are very unique. They're very well written. And some of them are real get-down good time songs,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you'll really like, especially for your show, The Saturday Night Party, which I really think you're on, like, a great thing with doing that whole thing.
Thank you.
I have listened every Saturday night, well, because you're playing me, number one, but two, I listen to the whole show, and I just love it.
Yeah.
And I find myself singing along with all these songs that I have just not heard in a really long time, and it's just a really good time.
Thank you.
And you're really marketing. It's a brilliant idea. And I have to give you kudos, because it's just so brilliant. I can't think of any other word. And you're right on the money, right at the right time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a
And
fun
I think
show.
you're the only station that's doing this.
I haven't seen anybody else, and I'm glad nobody else thinks like me. A lot of people think that too. But yeah, the Saturday Night Party, there's so many great party songs in the musical theater canon that you could put a whole show together and sing and dance and party along. And your songs have been a great addition to the.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just so honored you play them. I mean, it's wild, because like last Saturday evening,
Mm-hmm.
to be sitting here, and I was in the middle of typing an email, and I was just and I was. You're not sure. You kind of give me times when things are going to come out, but you're not sure if it's going to be right around the right time.
Yeah.
And I thought everything was going to be a little bit later, so I was kind of typing an email, and then all of a sudden, Sand Fleas from Avant-Garde came on. And it was just like, wow, memory blasts came into my head.
Yeah.
And I was immediately switched it back to when I was 16 years old and the opening of the second act, and it was just like a flood of great memories.
Yeah.
It inspires you, and it's just so brilliant. And as a record label and an executive at a record label, I have to thank you, because you're helping us market in a new fashion,
Mm-hmm.
in a new way, and you're opening up a new door and a new direction that is needed now, and it's creating a new audience.
And that's the key.
And that's what we wanted to do, but we weren't sure exactly how. And to have radio, especially at a time when there is no live theater, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is some movies, limited movies. Most of them are on Netflix, which we love. You know, we love the fact that the movie musicals are back, like The Prom and Diana. I know that they have filmed that for Netflix, but there's just not enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I can do my part to help promote all the songs yourself and get, like you said, the new audience to experience
I
these
think
shows.
you created an audience for your station and a whole new audience that has never existed before.
Well, thank you. That's well,
and you're opening up a market for us as record labels. And we know, because we had this in our meeting this week, we know that other labels are going to be jumping on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah. The more people that experience it means just the more people who will tune into your stuff and musical theater in general. So,
for a while, musicals were they weren't in the popularity. And I think it took like one musical movie to bring it all back. And I think that was Chicago. And then from there, they started making musical movies.
Yep.
What you're starting to do is kind of like that sort of domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're going to see.
Well,
your brilliance is going to add to a very big horizon, which we're seeing now.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everything you've done with the musicals. Thank you for coming on the show today, Ernest. It's been fantastic to learn about you and talk to you.
I am so thrilled to be here and excited, and thank you.
Oh, no problem. Well, before we go, though, I always ask 3 questions of my guests. There's no right or wrong answer, but the last one might have a wrong answer, so be prepared for that. All right? So my first question to you is, what creator or team within musical theater has had a great influence on you? Now, this could be a composer, a lyricist, director, producer, actor, stage manager even. It could be somebody famous or not famous, like a teacher. Who's had some influence on you in the musical theater world?
2 people. Maybe 3. Definitely Bob Fosse.
Yeah, for sure.
Julie Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Schwartz.
That is a good trio right there.
I mean, Bob Fosse, director, choreographer extraordinaire. Julie Andrews, probably the best voice I've ever heard in my existence, the best phraser.
Yeah.
And one of the best actresses, and very believable as an actress. Sincere.
Yes.
And Stephen Schwartz, because he's so brilliant and such a brilliant lyricist. If I could even be 1/4 of the lyricist that man is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Correct answers. That's number 1's correct. Nice. So, question number 2. Is there a song from the musical theater canon that you would love to turn into a dance song? Any song from anywhere of any time that you go, oh, I would love to turn this song into a banging dance hit.
Many. And I will tell you this, and I think it's going to shock people, but I always use this song to warm up to because for some reason it just puts my voice right in, when you're doing a mic test.
Yeah.
And it annoys Steve, my co-producer Steve Skinner, a lot. But I don't care. And it's the song Something Good from Sound of Music. And I know your eyes just rolled up to the ceiling. You probably don't hear it as a dance song.
Yeah.
And what I was so shocked about was right as we released Being Alive, as it was supposed to be, Katrina Link went in and recorded it for R&H Goes Pop as a virtual song. And I was like, okay, girl, I'm doing your song, you're doing mine. It was so funny. But she did it as like somebody in an insane asylum. But that's not how I see the song.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw her video, if you know what I'm referring to.
No, I didn't see that.
They have a whole channel now, R&H, Rodgers and Hammerstein Goes Pop, and a lot of them are very normal, like Jeremy Jordan and Laura Osnos and just major Broadway,
Yeah.
doing them a little bit poppy, but not over the top poppy.
Mm-hmm.
But Katrina Link did Something Good, and it was so funny. But I've always wanted to do that song.
Well, I just
And
Googled it. and I'm going to look at it as soon as we're done our interview. So
Okay.
we'll see what that.
So is that correct or, not, or wrong?
That's awesome. Well, that's a correct answer. I love it. I want to hear it one day. And final question, number 3. Food in the theater or cell phones in the theater? Which is worse?
Oh,
Oh, now
probably cell phone. Probably cell phone. It's really annoying
Yeah.
to look out and see somebody not putting their attention, or it throws you when you hear something because you're not sure if it's something being given to you,
Yeah.
like a cue. Like if something goes wrong, we have sometimes quick cues like that are given to us, and it's like really short, like 2 things, like two little words, and or like you might hear a beep, and if you hear that beep, you know that something tragic is about to happen.
Yeah.
And you kind of like freeze, or you just pause, or you beep for a moment, and you just see what's going to happen. And so cell phones are really, really irritating to me. I know they're also very irritating to Patty LaPone.
Yes.
But I do know that there are some actors that are greatly affected by food in the theater.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Rannells had some pizza pie eaters in the first row of second act of Book of Mormon.
Wow.
It was like, oh my God.
Oh, wow. Well, it was a trick question. The correct answer is both are awful and shouldn't happen. So
I did. I said first. Both.
Exactly. So you get full points, all 3 questions. Congratulations. Oh, man. Ernest, thank you so much again for coming on and telling us a little bit about yourself and your life and supporting the radio station with your music. I personally want to thank you for that.
I fully support the radio station, and I have to thank you again for playing our music, our tracks, and for supporting musical theater.
Not a problem. It is my
and
pleasure.
Myself, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Well, we have just been speaking with Ernest Kohl here on Be Our Guest on Musical Theater Radio. Tune in next week when we'll talk to another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanov, and I will see you when I see you. We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community.